Are the kids all right? Gen Z is redefining the work experience with an attitude that's at odds with their older coworkers. Far more Gen Z workers report being unhappy at work, 26% compared to just 9% of baby boomers. That's according to HR software company CanGrade. In a recent piece for Fast Company, author and financial educator Kyla Scanlon dives into why Gen Z views work so differently, and she's joining us now. Kyla, thank you so much for being here. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So you talk about basically what has shaped Gen Z workers, right? And this is during your formative years entering the workforce, and just before you had things like the financial crisis, the pandemic, et cetera. So what do you think Gen Z is now prioritizing?
I think it's personally prioritizing passion. So it's figuring out how you can tie together work that you care about and broader things that you care about. A lot of people want to be on a path in life that they feel aligned with. So they're searching that out in the workforce.
Kyla, really excited for this conversation. First and foremost, we love a good whiteboard in the background as well here. So thank you so much. But, as we think about what Gen Z is prioritizing and how they're thinking about the workplace and the applications that they're working with, there's been so much focus around artificial intelligence. And how do you believe that Gen Z is really thinking about a future of artificial intelligence within the workplace?
I mean, I think everybody's trying to figure out exactly what that means. My theory is that AI will be a complement to humans rather than a replacement. So I think people are trying to figure out, Gen Z specifically, how they can use AI to enhance their existing work, how they can maybe automate different tasks or make certain things easier. So I think that's how people are thinking about it. But then, of course, there's that underlying fear, too, where it's like, well, will it replace me entirely? And I don't think anybody has the exact answer to that quite yet.
Kyla, I want to go back to this idea of being passionate about what you do, finding purpose in what you do. I'm a Gen Xer, full disclosure, so I come to things maybe from a more cynical view. I'm passionate about what I do, but I consider myself really fortunate. How realistic is it that workers can find that passion and that purpose in what they do?
I think that's a super good question because it's a super tough thing to answer. It's really it's important that we kind of think about how we allow people to explore their passions, how we help people discover their passions in the first place. So I don't think it's as accessible as it could be because a lot of people don't know how to tap into those things. And then, of course, you have to make money. Like you have to have a paycheck. And that sort of nets out a lot of people's passions in general. So I think the whole thing is just like rethinking the whole economic system so people can better tie into what they truly might care about.
That's a really interesting idea. What does that mean, rethinking the economic system? Like, is it just a matter of that the people you work with are nice and you want to be friends with them and it's a pleasant place to work? Or is it that you really try to figure out what truly makes you happy and build work around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two paths, right? So one path is work is just drudgery. So you sort of do the work just to get the paycheck, and then you have time to explore your passions on the side. And then I think the other path is how do you incorporate your passions more into the work that you're currently doing? But I think the big thing is we kind of have a passion crisis where it's super difficult to figure out what you truly care about because you have to go on a certain path in order to make money to stay alive. And so I think that's where things like, social safety nets or different support systems for people who live in the United States would be super beneficial. And that would give people the time and the energy and the space where they could explore what they truly care about and maybe have a higher level of actualization, not to use all these woo-woo words, but I think that's kind of key right now.
I think of myself as a pretty passionate person, but there are areas where I could be more passionate. How can employers give more passion or instill more passion into their workforce?
I think that's really tough because nobody really loves the workplace happy hours, like that's not necessarily going to be a passionate place. I think it's really just allowing people to explore different projects or maybe tie in different things that they really enjoy doing with the work that they're doing now. A lot of this is super abstract because it's a very tough question to answer, and I don't have all the answers to it. But I think the biggest thing is how can employers allow their employees to do what they care about or give them the time and the space to explore what they care about.
Kyla, with the time that we have left here, you popularized this idea of a vibe session last year. And when we think about a vibe session and where we are within relation to that, we're tossing the definition up on the screen for our viewers here as well. Where are we in relation to the vibe session right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of ties back into what I was just saying. So a lot of the stuff I was just saying sounds not real, right? Like, oh, people should be able to explore their passions, whatever. But I think if people were able to explore the passions, that would improve the vibe session. I think in terms of the question that you asked, where are we in terms of the vibe session itself? We're moving forward. We're getting out of it, but real wages have been relatively stagnant. So people aren't feeling very good about their economic situation because inflation has eaten away at their wages. But when you look at the broader economy, things are going really well. We have a strong labor market, inflation is going down, but the average consumer is like, well, hey, listen, I still don't feel that good because I don't feel like I'm making as much. I feel maybe trapped in the work that I'm doing. So I'd say like the vibe session is not as bad as it was. I think a lot of people are feeling a lot better, but we're still maybe not where we could be.
And I wonder if we're going to end up with a recession and a vibe expansion. I don't know, that doesn't really work. But like, could we actually see things flip so that the data looks worse, but people somehow feel better? That seems unlikely, though.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. People kind of take data at whatever value they want, it seems. But I think that we seem to be skirting a recession right now. We seem to be headed towards a soft landing. The labor market is hanging on. Inflation is hanging on. The big question will be what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates. But I think people are feeling better. You know, big tech companies are starting to hire again. So that part of the economy is feeling better. Other parts of the economy are booming. So it's just waiting and seeing, unfortunately, which creates some of the weird vibes, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Kyla, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. Don't be a stranger. Come back and see us again. And appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.